Still answering phones at that little office downtown? My sister Rachel smirked across the Easter dinner table, adjusting her new Cartier bracelet. You know, my company's always hiring real executives. I glanced at the massive TV behind them, mounted on the wall of the country club's private dining room. The sound was muted, but the business news ticker kept scrolling. Any minute now. I manage, I said quietly, cutting into my overpriced salmon. The country club's food was mediocre at best. I owned 3 Michelin-starred restaurants that served better dishes as staff meals. Managing is generous, my brother Michael chimed in. What do secretaries make these days? 30,000. If they only knew that my little office downtown was just the public entrance to Morgan International's headquarters. The real offices occupied the top 30 floors of the building, my building. The secretary job they mocked was my cover while I built an empire worth billions. Alexandra really should have finished business school like you both did, my mother sighed, sipping her wine. Then she might have made something of herself. I had finished business school actually. Graduated top of my class from Harvard, then earned my MBA at Stanford. But they'd skipped both graduations, too busy celebrating Rachel's promotion to middle management. At least she dresses better now. Rachel gestured to my simple black dress, a custom Chanel piece that cost more than her annual salary. Though that watch looks like it came from Target. The Target watch was actually a rare Patek Philippe, worth more than their houses combined. But they didn't need to know that. Not yet. My phone buzzed silently, my real phone, not the decoy one they saw me use. The message was from my CEO. Everything's ready. Press conference starting in 5 minutes. Speaking of jobs, Michael leaned forward. Did you hear about the Morgan International acquisition? They just bought out Comtech for $8 billion. $8 billion. Can you imagine having that kind of money? I could actually. I'd signed those acquisition papers over breakfast this morning. Must be nice, my father added, swirling his wine. Their CEO is some mystery billionaire. Nobody even knows who runs the company. Nobody. I raised an eyebrow, checking the time. 3 minutes. Complete secret, Rachel nodded. Though it's obviously a man. No woman could build something that big. I suppressed a smile, remembering the look on my board's faces when I'd first revealed my identity to them. No woman could run this company, they'd said. They'd shut up quickly when I'd outlined my vision for expanding into global markets. Probably some old guy who inherited everything, Michael continued. Like the Rockefellers or something. 2 minutes. Alexandra, honey, my mother leaned in with fake concern. Have you thought about going back to school? Maybe get a real degree this time. My degree is fine, Mom. A liberal arts degree is hardly. She started, but stopped as the TV behind them suddenly increased in volume. Breaking news. I watched their faces as they turned to look at the screen, where the anchor was making a historic announcement. Breaking news. The mysterious CEO of Morgan International has finally been revealed. In a shocking press conference moments ago. The camera cut to the press conference room, my press conference room. My family's jaws dropped as they saw me walk onto the stage, wearing the exact same Chanel dress I had on now. Alexandra Morgan, age 29, has been revealed as the founder and CEO of Morgan International, making her the youngest CEO of a Fortune 500 company and one of the wealthiest individuals in the world. The sound of shattering glass pierced the sudden silence. My father had dropped his wine. Current estimates put Morgan International's value at over $100 billion, with Ms. Morgan's personal net worth exceeding. That's you, Rachel whispered, her face draining of color. I smiled, taking a sip of my wine, a vintage that cost more than their cars combined. Yes, it is. But you're a secretary. Michael sputtered. Actually, I said calmly, I'm your boss. Morgan International bought your company last week. Didn't you read the memo? The TV continued displaying headlines. Morgan International CEO revealed. The billionaire next door. Wall Street stunned as Alexandra Morgan steps into spotlight. Youngest Fortune 500 CEO finally shows her face. This is impossible, my father wheezed. You can't, you're not. Not what, Dad? Not successful. Not powerful. Not the owner of a global empire. I raised an eyebrow. Would you like to see my bank accounts? My phone buzzed again, messages from world leaders and business titans pouring in. The president wanted a meeting. The British Prime Minister was calling. Now then, I said, straightening in my chair as their world crumbled around them, shall we discuss what happens next? The private dining room had gone eerily quiet, the only sound being the continuous buzz of my phone as congratulatory messages poured in from global leaders and business titans. The TV behind them kept displaying headlines, each one making my family sink further into their chairs. Morgan International's secret empire revealed. How Alexander Morgan built a $100 billion company in secret. Wall Street's greatest mystery solved. The billionaire was hidden in plain sight. This has to be a mistake, Rachel finally managed, her perfectly manicured hands shaking as she reached for her phone. I'm going to Google. Go ahead, I said calmly, taking another sip of my wine. Though you might want to check your company email first. The merger announcement should have hit your inbox about. I checked my watch, the rare Patek Philippe they'd mocked earlier, 3 minutes ago. Michael was already frantically scrolling through his phone. No, this can't. Oh God. Found the memo? I asked mildly. The one announcing that Morgan International now owns controlling interest in both your companies? My mother's hand flew to her pearl necklace ironically from a jewelry company I'd acquired last year. But you're our daughter. You can't be. Can't be what, Mom? Successful? Powerful? The CEO of a global corporation. I pulled out my tablet, a custom secure device that made their latest tech look like toys. Would you like to see the acquisition papers? I signed them this morning, right after my breakfast meeting with the Japanese Prime Minister. The club's manager appeared at my elbow, practically vibrating with nervous energy. Ms. Morgan. We had no idea. Would you prefer the owner's private dining room? This is fine, Charles, I smiled. Though you might want to bring up that bottle of Chateau Lafite Rothschild 1982 from your cellar. The one you've been saving for a special occasion? The $12,000 bottle? My father choked. Actually, I corrected, it's worth closer to $20,000 now. Wine futures are one of my smaller investment portfolios. Rachel's mascara was starting to run. But your office, that tiny consulting firm, is just the public entrance to Morgan International's global headquarters, I explained. The real offices occupy the top 30 floors. That secretary's desk you mocked? It's a security checkpoint. The actual receptionist makes more annually than you do. My phone buzzed again, the president wanting to discuss economic policy. The Chinese premier had questions about trade implications. Speaking of salaries, I continued, pulling up some documents on my tablet, let's discuss your new employment situations. New employment? Michael's voice cracked. Well, I can hardly have my own siblings working in middle management, can I? I raised an eyebrow. It would look like nepotism. Of course, your current positions have been eliminated. Eliminated. Rachel screeched. You can't fire us. I'm not firing you, I said calmly. I'm offering you a choice. I reached into my Hermes bag worth more than their cars combined, and pulled out 4 envelopes. Inside each envelope, I continued, you'll find 2 options. Choose carefully. Your futures depend on it. Options. My father's voice was barely a whisper. Option 1. Accept entry-level positions in one of my smaller subsidiaries. No special treatment, no shortcuts, just an opportunity to earn legitimate success through actual work. Entry-level? Rachel's voice hit a pitch that made nearby diners wince. I'm a senior vice president. You were a senior vice president, I corrected. Now you're unemployed. Unless you choose option 1. And option 2? Michael asked, his face ashen. Is simple. Find employment elsewhere. Though that might be difficult, given that Morgan International owns, partners with, or competes with most major corporations in your fields. The sound of a champagne cork popping made everyone jump. Charles had returned with not just the wine, but a full celebration spread. Compliments of the club, Ms. Morgan, he beamed. Though technically, since you bought the country club chain last month, you're complimenting yourself. You own the country club too? My mother whispered. I own most things you think are impressive, Mom. I smiled slightly. That designer bag you bragged about last Christmas? My company bought the fashion house in January. Dad's golf club? I acquired it in March. Michael's fancy gym membership? I own the entire fitness chain. The Easter dinner lay forgotten as my family stared at their envelopes like they might explode. Through the private dining room's windows, I could see my security team's black SUVs arriving standard protocol once my identity was revealed. The country club's members were trying not to stare, but their furtive glances and whispered conversations made it clear the news was spreading. Before you open those envelopes, I said, pulling out my tablet again, let's discuss exactly what's about to change. The TV behind them was still running headlines, each one making them sink further into their expensive chairs. Morgan International's holdings revealed. Over 1,000 companies worldwide. Mystery CEO's net worth soars past $50 billion after announcement. Wall Street reacts. Morgan empire larger than expected. First, I continued, pulling up detailed financial records, let's talk about your current situations. Rachel, your senior vice president position at Global Tech? The one you got after that mysterious internal investigation disappeared. Rachel's perfectly styled hair couldn't hide her growing panic. How do you know about that? I know about it because I own the company that did the investigation, I said calmly. The sexual harassment complaints against your direct supervisor, the ones you helped bury in exchange for your promotion? I have copies of everything. That's confidential, she sputtered. Nothing is confidential from the owner, dear sister. I swiped to another document. Just like nothing is confidential about Michael's creative accounting at his investment firm. Michael went pale. What creative accounting? The client funds you've been mismanaging? The unauthorized trades? The offshore accounts? I raised an eyebrow. Did you really think Morgan International's financial oversight team wouldn't notice suspicious transactions in our own banking network? My father tried to rally to his children's defense. Now see here, Alexandra. Oh, we're getting to you, Dad. I cut him off. Should we discuss the tax fraud at your consulting firm? The fake invoices? The shell companies? My mother's hand shook so badly she had to set down her wine glass. Tax fraud. Mom, please, I smiled slightly. You signed half the paperwork. Those charitable donations you've been claiming? The ones that never actually went to any charities? The IRS is very interested in those. The room had gone deathly quiet. Even the nearby diners had given up pretending not to listen. But your family, Rachel whispered. You wouldn't. Family. I laughed softly. Was I family when you told the board at Global Tech not to hire me because I was just a secretary? Was I family when Michael spread rumors about my failed career at his country club? Was I family when Dad here told his business associates not to work with my little consulting firm because it would embarrass him? My phone buzzed again, the SEC wanting to discuss some irregularities they'd found in Michael's trading records. The IRS had questions about my father's tax returns. But that's all in the past, I continued, silencing the phone. What matters now is your future. And you have about. I checked my watch, 10 minutes to decide what that future looks like. 10 minutes, my father's voice cracked. Why 10 minutes? Because in 10 minutes the SEC and IRS agents who are currently waiting outside will enter this room, I said calmly. Unless, of course, you choose option 1. Michael's hands were shaking as he finally opened his envelope. This is a joke, right? Entry-level data analyst. At one of my smaller tech companies, I nodded. Starting salary is $45,000. No corner office, no executive perks, no fancy title. Just honest work for honest pay. 45,000? Rachel looked like she might faint. My handbag cost more than that. Your handbag was bought with fraudulently obtained money, I corrected. Speaking of which, you might want to check your bank accounts. They all reached for their phones simultaneously. The gasps were almost comical. Our accounts, they're frozen, my mother cried. Pending federal investigation, I explained. Though if you choose option 1, I've arranged for modest living stipends while you learn to survive on actual earned income. Through the dining room's windows, I could see more black SUVs arriving, government vehicles this time. But where will we live? Rachel's mascara was creating black rivers down her cheeks. Our houses, our cars. Were all purchased with fraudulent funds, I finished. They'll be seized, of course. But Morgan International maintains corporate housing for employees in transition. Small apartments but clean and safe. The kind of places honest working people live. This is insane, Michael stood up suddenly. I'm calling my lawyer. Your lawyer works for me now, I said mildly. Morgan International acquired his firm last month. In fact, I pulled up another document. We found some interesting communications between you two about those offshore accounts. He's already agreed to cooperate with the investigation. The sound of footsteps in the hallway made everyone freeze. My security chief appeared at the door. Ms. Morgan, the federal agents are ready. Thank you, James. I stood up, smoothing my Chanel dress. Well, family, what's it going to be? Honest work or federal investigation? Wait, my mother called out desperately. All these years, why didn't you tell us? Why let us treat you like that? I turned back, surveying the ruins of our Easter dinner. I tried telling you. Remember last year when I offered to invest in Dad's business? You all laughed and said I didn't understand real money. When I suggested Michael's investment strategies seemed questionable, you called me financially illiterate. When I warned Rachel about covering up corporate misconduct, you said I was jealous of her success. But your clothes, your car, your office. Rachel gestured helplessly. Were all carefully chosen to maintain my cover while I built something legitimate, I said. While you were all showing off your fraudulently obtained wealth, I was creating real value. Morgan International employs over 500,000 people worldwide. We build things, create jobs, drive innovation. The federal agents were now visible in the hallway. One last thing, I added, reaching into my bag. I pulled out a final document and placed it on the table. This is a list of every employee at your companies from the cleaning staff to middle management. Their jobs are safe. Their pensions are secure. Their futures protected. Why? My father asked quietly. After how we treated you. Because that's the difference between real success and what you all built, I said. Real success isn't about showing off wealth or crushing those who wronged you. It's about creating value, protecting people, building something legitimate. The federal agents entered the room, and I watched as the last vestiges of arrogance drained from my family's faces. This wasn't some power play or negotiating tactic. This was justice. Ms. Morgan, the lead agent stepped forward. We're ready to proceed. Of course. I turned to my family one last time. Choose quickly. The federal agents don't like to be kept waiting.